Question from the floor?
Thank you very much. Perhaps out of ignorance, which is where most fear is seated, I have a question about projecting Jamie's prediction into the future, the change in political funding. What, in your views, will happen or will not happen to the message, democracy, the system, with proposed changes to, as suggested by the Harper government, otherwise known as the Canadian government?
Jamie, you want to start with that? How does banning or eradicating public funding to the parties, how does that change the game?
Well, it depends how it's eradicated. If it is eradicated with no notice, by that I mean it just is cut off within that fiscal year, it will definitely compromise the other party's ability to raise money. If it is phased in over a reasonable period of time, I'm not actually worried about it, and I'll tell you why. The reason the Conservatives have this great fundraising ability now is not because of any good luck. It's because when Scott's boss, Prime Minister Martin, was in charge, we couldn't raise a dime from any big donor. So there was no money. So the Conservatives had to go out and
explain that. That's because all corporate Canada was.
Yeah, I'm sorry, all corporate Canada, whatever. And
then
that's, I'm not complaining about that. That was fair game. They were making their choices. So the Conservatives had to learn how to raise money differently. They now raise money, $50, $60 at a time from Canadians. They raise enough money to fund their operations. My view is that the other parties have just not done that work because they've got the money from the taxpayer. I think so I think if it's phased in over time, they'll build that capability and they'll do just as well as the Conservatives are doing now.
Question here?
Sorry, can I just add a comment on that?
Sure, absolutely.
We had the best election financing system in the world from 1974 till Mr. Martin started tinkering with it. And they wrecked it in a way that, oops-a-daisy, the Conservatives continued to play games with. I think it is a good idea to cut the central party funding and allow corporations and trade unions and individuals to give more money to politics.
And make that part of their
because
citizenship.
if you don't do that, you end up with the Watergate safe in the president's office full of dollar bills.
Well, let me jump in then. I want to say a couple things too, because if that happens, then what balance is struck is the name of the game. But that's not what Harper has been proposing. What Harper has been proposing is that he would simply eliminate party financing, there'd be no public subsidy of political parties, and there would be no increase in the ability for individuals and corporations or trade unions to donate, effectively locking in what we know is, at least in a transitional standpoint, right, whether an advantage for the Conservatives. Here's my view. You said, Mr. Martin, you're wrong. It was actually Mr. Chrétien.
Apologies, you're right.
But I think that the point, and it doesn't matter that it's a Liberal, I think that it's a really important point. You know how we used to do this? We used to do this for years in the same way that we would change election law. We would do it, we would say, you know what, let's not touch the stove by making it a partisan aspect. So no government would do stuff. You would set up, as Mulroney did, you'd set up the Lord T Commission, have all party experts, people that aren't involved in the partisan activity of the individual, that moment, but folks that know the political system and can appreciate the implications, have them come forward with consensus proposals, and some get taken and some don't. But when Chrétien said, I'm on fire over sponsorship, I need to do something that looks publicly interested on political financing, and I'm going to change it through legislation rather than through that other mechanism, we ended up in a world where there was no reason for Harper to claim that he didn't have exactly the same right, and now that's where we're in this pickle.